colors exist in the world all around us, and I think that's fantastic. Imagine if there were no colors at all. That would be pretty bland and boring. Everything would look like a movie from the 1920s, and there are several reasons why I wouldn't want to live during that time period. Today, I will be rating all the colors I can think of on a scale of 1 to 10. What is the scale based on? I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. For organization's sake, I'm going to go in alphabetical order according to the list that is right in front of me. First up is black. And some people might argue that black isn't actually a color, to which I say, who gives a shit? Black gets an 8 out of 10 for me because it's pretty much everywhere and it goes well with so many other colors. Plus, if something is dark enough, it's like staring right into the void, and if you look at it long enough, sometimes the void stares back at you. But some points are deducted because staring into the void for too long might make you lose your mind, which probably isn't fun for anyone unless you're into that sort of thing. Next up is blue. I think I have to also give blue another 8 out of 10. It's just such a nice, pleasing color to look at, you know? There's something so calming and joyful about looking up at the sky and seeing that peaceful shade of blue. 2 points are deducted because blue is such a confusing color. What even counts as blue? Who knows? Nobody seems to agree. Is cyan blue? How light does blue-green have to be before it's just blue? If blue was just a little more simple, maybe it would get a 10, but for now it sits comfortably at an 8. Brown, I think, is a bit of an underrated color. Nobody really seems to like brown that much, but I think people need to give it a little more credit. Brown by itself isn't all that great, since it really just makes me think of dirt and other very unpleasant things, but it makes other colors look nice. I give brown a 7 out of 10, because it makes other things look better, but also the color itself is kinda meh. And now we're at gray. Gray is a very interesting color, I think. There's so many different shades of gray, no reference intended, and they all look fantastic. There's light gray, dark gray, medium gray, is that a thing? Silver is technically a kind of gray, and it's very shiny. And gray matches well with a lot of colors. Light blue, pink, red, you name it, gray probably looks pretty good with it. And for that reason, I have to give gray a 9 out of 10. 1 point is deducted because whenever anyone says the phrase shades of gray, all I can think about is the book, but that isn't really the color's fault. Green. I love green. Trees are green, grass is green, and most importantly, frogs are green. Green makes me think of nature. I think green is another criminally underrated color. It doesn't get enough love. I'm gonna give green a 10 out of 10 because it makes me think of frogs, and frogs make me happy. Indigo gets an automatic 0 out of 10 because I don't believe it exists. Any color I've seen described as indigo just looks like blue to me, sometimes with a little bit of purple mixed in. Indigo is just a shade of blue trying to be special. No stars for indigo. Magenta, however, immediately gets a 10 out of 10 because it actually doesn't exist. That's right, magenta isn't real. Our brains made it up. It's just our mind's best interpretation of what lies between the two ends of the color spectrum. Don't believe me? Look it up yourself. Our brains just looked at magenta, made up a color, and said, you know what? It's good enough. And I think that's super cool, so magenta is a 10 out of 10 for me. Orange is also a 10 out of 10, although I have to admit I'm very biased because orange is my favorite color. I don't even know why. One day I just decided orange would be my favorite color, and it stayed that way ever since. I love orange. It's a nice, bright color, and I think too many people ignore it. Also, did you know the color is named after the fruit? As far as I know, it's the only color to have been named after a fruit, and that's pretty neat. And now we've got pink. Pink is, again, a 10 out of 10 for me. I used to hate pink, but I've since gotten over that phase, and I'm so glad I did. Pink is such a nice color. It can be bright and intense, or soft and peaceful. My laptop is pink. My blanket is pink. I have like 5 different shades of pink nail polish. I think a lot of people only hate pink because it's associated with femininity and we live in a patriarchal, misogynistic society, but that's another topic for another day. I think I have to give purple a 9 out of 10. It's a lot like pink, and pink and purple go very well together. The walls of my bedroom are purple. But I have to deduct 1 point solely because people whose favorite color is purple make it their entire personality. Literally everything they have is purple. But other than that, to me, purple is a near perfect color. Next up is red. Red used to be my favorite color when I was a kid, but obviously it was eventually replaced by orange. I still like red, but unfortunately I have to give it a 6 out of 10. The point deductions come from 2 places. 1, red solo cups that only make me think of frat parties and fuckboys. 2, red is the color of blood, and I've had a few too many instances in my life where I've bled for unnatural reasons, and I'd much rather not have to think about those. Teal is, unfortunately, a 3 out of 10 for me. I don't understand teal. Is it dark? Is it light? What even is teal? Nobody seems to know the difference between teal and aquamarine or whatever other names there are for the various shades and combinations of blue and green. In fact, I should give a teal a 0 out of 10, but it gets 3 points because it reminds me of Hatsune Miku's hair. Now we've got white. Like I mentioned before with black, you could argue that white isn't a color. But you could also argue that it's every color at once. White makes me think of snow, and I really like snow, so I think I'll give white a 7 out of 10. Points are deducted because white also makes me think of the light mode on every app and website, which is always an unholy assault on my poor eyes. And finally, the last color is yellow. Now, I've got to give yellow a 9 out of 10. It's a very cheery color that can make anything you add it to just a little bit brighter. And it's not a confusing color either. You can look at pretty much any shade of yellow and be like, yep, that's yellow alright. 1 point is deducted because sometimes yellow is so bright it hurts my eyes. And that's all I've got. That was 14 colors. The lowest rating I gave was a 0 out of 10 to indigo, and the highest was a 10 out of 10 to green, magenta, orange, and pink. I hope you enjoyed hearing my shitty opinions on colors. Let me know if you disagree with anything, and we can sort it out through a duel to the death in an Applebee's parking lot on a Tuesday evening. Hope you have a good day.